you've been here with me before. This is Lake Wyalong, which is a dam, and it's not far from Bow Desert in Queensland. Bizarrely, it's not actually connected to the water supply, so while it's a gigantic reservoir of water, it doesn't go anywhere. I don't know why that's the case, but it is. Now, it is used, however, for the rowing. I think it's the state headquarters or something for the rowing club. But oddly, when the Olympic Games rowing venue was announced, it wasn't here at all. It was somewhere up north, I think, Townsville or something. I'll look that up and let you know. Now, this here is what colloquially called a fly cemetery, or more correctly, I suppose, a fruit slice. And I was talking about these the other day with somebody, and the urge came upon me to get myself one, so here we go. So let's chop this up. A couple of updates. One is that it's been a while since I made a video, and the last video was the one that I made just prior to the storm. I do want to apologise for the audio quality on that, because while I thought that this microphone was working, it actually wasn't. So the audio was coming from the camera itself, which is the Osmo Pocket 3, which I've shown you. And while that's pretty good if you're close to it, if you're not that close to it, the audio is pretty well reduced, and so there was a few breakups. Now, audio is not everything, I get it. In fact, I watch a YouTuber named of Owen Reardon. He's a young Irish fella who makes things out of wood, he's a woodworker. But in particularly, he makes them out of hand tools, so he doesn't use power tools. Occasionally he will, but for the most part he'll use a saw or a hand drill, and things like a spoke shave, so he doesn't use an electric planer or anything like that, and hand planes, of course, too. However, his audio is terrible in that he uses, I believe, he just uses his phone for his videos, and he's very successful. But the further back he gets, of course, the quieter it gets too, and so sometimes you have to keep cranking the volume up to hear what it is that he's saying. So the point is, though, that audio is not everything, but it is important, I think, and so I was a little disappointed in that last video in that it was like an Irish one. Anyway, I'm hoping this one works. A couple of updates. One is that I haven't really done much with any of the cars. And as you know, I've got 5 of them, so all 5 of them are just sitting there. Did have an issue with the Navara, in that the battery went flat, and when I jump started it, it had gone into limp mode, so it wouldn't actually accelerate or rev above idle. And I didn't realise that, and I went off down the driveway, but I couldn't get back up the driveway because it would not idle up the driveway with it being an automatic. So I had to tow it back up. Anyway, it replaced the battery, and my reluctant assistant went off for a girls' weekend away with her sister and her mum. And at the end of the holiday, it wouldn't start again, which is odd given that the battery was new. So I don't know whether that's a faulty battery, a drain on the battery, or in fact she's just simply left a door open or something and the light's been on, and over a period of a few days it's just drained the battery. Anyway, I'm going to check that later on. But the weather's been pretty bad, as you can probably see here. It's quite grey and a bit stormy looking out there. A little bit of wind around. So I haven't been doing much with videos. And then the other thing is Millie the dog, and she's in the car up there because this is a kind of a dog-free zone, unfortunately, so she can't come down with me. But I was just thinking about it today as I was driving here, that it's been now 7 months since she had her operation back in September of last year. And I made a video sitting right here, in fact, and I was talking about that when I was going to go and pick her up, and she'd had a bolt put through into her leg. Now, she hasn't had those bolts or screws in her leg now for a couple of months. And we did trial taking the bandages and the splints off, but unfortunately she just didn't have the strength in her leg. So I think it was a bit too much too soon in terms of, you know, an abrupt reintroduction back to no support at all. You know, I know that if we were in splints or used crutches or whatever it might be, you know, for a period of several months, that we couldn't suddenly start walking again and be perfectly okay. And that was definitely the case with her. And so she sort of staggered about for a few days until we could get her back in and get the splints back on. So we're now investigating things like more rigid support, you know, a kind of a hinged joint that will fasten on in the same way that tarsal support that I showed you some time back works, but it's soft, you know, and it wasn't nearly enough to support her, whereas I think something that's got a kind of a hinged joint which won't allow the ankle to go beyond a certain point, I think will do the trick. But let's try this fly symmetry out, hey? And I guarantee that if you watch this video, you'll want one. Cheers. Spot on. So unfortunately Millie can't get out because of the rules, but you can see that she's still got bandages on both legs. Shut the door, love. You can see her back there, but unfortunately with the regulations, you just don't want to get busted by a ranger either, you know. I mean, I wouldn't mind if I was less visible, but if cars go by, I don't want to get busted by a ranger and end up with a whacking great fine. But I just don't get it, to be perfectly honest. I mean, this is a dam which, like I said, is not actually connected to the water supply, so it's not as if she's going to poison the water. And out there swimming in the water are things like fish and ducks. So, well, the ducks aren't swimming. but you know what I mean. Anyway, let's head home.